Turn to page 11 it was, and the page numbers are not where they are in the reporter, so I had to hunt for that. The coming of the more powerful diesel engines has reduced the need to keep additional locomotives on hand for the upward trek through Crawford Notch. And in the snow and winter, when the need is there, they just simply send the additional locomotives up ahead of the freight from Portland. The only passenger service, train service in the whole country now is the federally funded Amtrak operation. And according to Peters, even that operation is losing money. But Peters does not believe that the railroad is going to drift into obscurity, even if the passenger service has been permanently impaired by the automobile and the airplane. He maintains that the railroad will continue to play a key role in American industry and the hauling of freight and supplies across the country. The main reason, he says, is that trains have a fuel advantage of 4 to 1 over trucks. That is, trains can travel 4 times the distance of trucks on the same amount of fuel. And with fuel prices getting higher and higher, he says, I think the railroad has a great future. But for Bartlett Village, the golden days of railroading have come and gone. Now that's the end of that article, but I think I should tell you something a little interesting. It's interesting to me anyway. I was born in Berlin, and my maternal grandmother came from Jackson, New Hampshire, and up there she had, at least she had sisters left up there. She had brothers, some 2 in Boston and whatnot, and when they used to come in the summer, they, of course, came to Jackson, and at that time, the railroad was running an excursion of some kind, so my grandmother could go from Berlin on the excursion train that would go through Crawford Notch and come to Bartlett. So it would all be agreed, not by telephone in those days, so they must have had to write letters, that my grandmother would go from Berlin to Bartlett, and the brothers and sisters in Jackson would go probably horse and buggy way back in those days to Bartlett, and they would meet. And I can remember my grandmother, they had a picnic when they got there, and my grandmother would pack the basket, and we thought Grammy was going to Timbuktu. It was a big, big day when Grammy was getting ready the day before to go down to Bartlett, because to us in those days, well, we didn't know where Bartlett was either. We just knew it was a long way off, and that's where Grammy was going to see her brothers and sisters. So I have really personal memories of Bartlett, even though at that time I had never been in this part of the country anyway. So this is the end of the Bartlett Railroad thing, and I'll see what else I can find for it. In fact, I think this side of the tape is about run out. So I think what I'm going to do is just, we'll let it run. It won't be much longer, and then I'll start some more things on the other side. Helen Newt has one of her inklings in a reporter, and I may read that to you on the other side of the tape. So just let your tape run till it runs down, and then flip her over onto the other side. realize there was so much tape left on that. When it gets over and down near the end, you just can't see in there to see how much tape you have, you really have in there to run. And in case you wonder what all that rustling was, I really forgot the tape was running, and I was rustling through papers here to see what else I could come up with. So here we are on the other side, and I think I'll start the Inklings. I don't know how far I'll get. It's now 20 minutes past 10, and I guess perhaps I'll be stopping before long. I thought I would put again this, because it's in the Irregular, this same issue the Bartlett News was in, an account of Helen Newt's birthday party, and then start off with her Inklings. There is a different picture of Helen Newt cutting her very pretty birthday cake that she had, and Mary Burak is standing beside her, helping her cut her cake. The big caption says, "Surprise 80th birthday party for Helen Newt." Helen Newt was so overwhelmed Sunday, she was speechless. Furthermore, Miss Newt, who lets few happenings in North Conway escape her notice, was taken completely by surprise. The North Conway Community Center was filled with people gathered to celebrate Miss Newt's 80th birthday. Old friends and young friends, some children dressed up in their finest, were there to pay surprise tribute to this lady who attorney and school board member Maurice Geiger described as sometimes controversial, but never indefinite. She shared the spotlight with Mrs. Louise B. Eastman of Kearsarge, who turned 83 last Sunday. Superintendent of Schools Robert Coutts and others paid tributes to Miss Newt. She greeted those who came to pay tribute with hugs and kisses, and she wiped the tears away with a handkerchief as they spoke. There was a large tiered cake, and about the only word she spoke to the gathering came at the moment she was to blow out the candles. She commented that if she blew out all the candles at once, the legend goes, she would be married within a year. Miss Newt, who has never been married, blew them all out and smiled widely to the delighted audience. Miss Newt rarely is out of breath or energy, and to prove that point, she will be walking in the second Community Walk for Hunger at that 8-mile walk to take place Sunday, November 6th. The walk, sponsored by Church Women United, Church World Service, and CROP, an organization aimed at eliminating hunger across the world, raises money through donor contributions for each mile a hiker walks. Miss Newt has 15 sponsors, so you see she was right on the job in getting her sponsors. Now, I'm going to start this Inklings that she has written. And of course, as you know, she signs that Sally Mander. During the 25 years that I have been writing Inklings for the Reporter, I have quoted Bliss Carman's Vagabond song occasionally during October, but it has been a long time since I used it, and as it is constantly in my thoughts during the autumn foliage season, I am going to give it to you again. There is something in the autumn that is native to my blood, touch of manner, hint of mood, and my heart is like a rhyme, with the yellow and the purple and the crimson keeping time. The scarlet of the maples can shake me like the cry of bugles going by, and my lonely spirit thrills to see the frosty asters like smoke upon the hills. There is something in October sets the gypsy blood astir. We must rise and follow her. when from every hill of flame she calls and calls each vagabond by name. Now, here she goes on to her article. I am sitting at my desk on October 7th, looking out at the frosty asters and other blossoms on the hillside across Puddin Brook, which no frost has yet killed. It is a beautiful October day. There have not been many years during the time I have lived in North Conway when we did not have a frost long before this. And just for the record, let me put in this. This is October 26, 1977, that this article is in the paper. The trees on this floodplain of Puddin and Kearsarge brooks have passed their peak of brilliant color, but a good deal is still left. It began late this year. Normally, at this time, most of the trees in this lowland would have lost most of their leaves. The big pines on the hill across the brook look moth-eaten because there are so many brown needles ready to fall off. Already the driveway has a carpet of the pine spills, as they always used to be called. When my father was alive, we children were always very busy at this time of year, raking the pine spills on the hill, which was then open ground, so that he could use them for banking the foundations of a house instead of weather stripping them with paper, as is done now. It took large quantities of them to fill the enclosures he prepared for them, so that the banking would be about 2 feet high and several feet deep.